Looking for ways to save money at the grocery store for the upcoming Christmas holiday? I don't know anyone who wouldn't be looking for ways to save. Let's talk about this back in a minute. Good morning. Good morning. This is Jan from New York City. Channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. I truly love helping people keep some more of their own hard earned money. Could that be you? Never forget those three words: hard earned money. You get up every day, you go to work and work hard, come home, never forget that. So I don't know about you, but I don't like to easily hand it out after all of my efforts. After all of my efforts, I want to save some of that money. Just say it, just say it. All right, hope everybody's doing well. We're getting pretty darn close to the big day. And now's the time where you're sitting down, you're making your like really getting close to it plans for Christmas dinner. I'll just call it Christmas dinner. Let's narrow it down. Now, I've been watching, some of those, three-letter channels, and let me tell you something. I really got terrific deals on gifts, as you know. Okay, mention that specifically. I went over it in great detail on a past show, but I saw some really interesting options for food. Now, I would say for many people right this minute, some of those food options, even though they're selling like hotcakes, regarding, let's say, roast for about 4 pounds or 6 pounds, don't get me wrong, they look amazing. I have no idea, but I wonder if it's out of the price range for a lot of people. I would say for myself, and I can only answer for myself, that those roast options look totally out of my price range. But I didn't say those roasts didn't look delish. I am sure for those that who can get it, enjoy every minute of it. But let's just dial it back to myself or to many people who are tapping on here and listening to this video. Let me tell you something. If there are ways to cut back costs on certain things right now, I mean, why not take advantage of it? It all starts where in your planning. In your planning, I'm going to give you an example. One of those roasts that I'm referring to, a 4 pound roast, that the option is at $149 and it's on sale. The 6 pound roast is $189 dollars, but they have it divided up into certain ways, and the person can split up the payments and stuff like that. I'm not saying that that wouldn't be a delicious thing. It looks magnificent, but for many people, not quite sure. And I'm not putting it down at all whatsoever. Not quite sure if it's within people's price range. Let's talk about, dial it back to those that who wouldn't be able to do that, which would be probably a lot of people. That's my guess. Okay. So what I like to do, okay, now a lot of people like to make a ham. They like to roast a ham for Christmas. That's part of their tradition. Okay. I am not personally a huge fan of that. I'm not saying someone else shouldn't enjoy it. Great. If you do, I'm happy for you. But it's funny. I like ham in a thinly sliced version at the deli, like if it's done up right, and it's decent, good quality one, and sliced thinly. But I'm not necessarily a huge roasted ham person, baked ham person, at the holidays. So for myself, I don't do that. But one of the things that I do, and I encourage anyone who likes pasta to do, is to consider, instead of expensive, let's say, ham like that, but I wouldn't mind. Okay, I'll mention a pasta thing in a minute, but a roast pork. Now, I know you're saying, wait a minute, but Jan, you just said you don't like ham. No, I don't. I don't like those flavorings in those. Okay, and maybe the texture could be a texture thing. But let's say if you get a regular roast pork, okay, and roast that slowly and nicely throughout the day, that could be delish and also very cost effective. Never ever forget that option. For those that are contemplating, well, gee, maybe this ham is out of control in price, and some of the fancier ones could really be like out of many people's price range. So instead, you might just go for the fresh roast pork and, do it that way. Slowly, surely, and deliciously. I'm just saying, just saying. All right. But what I like to do, and this is one of the reasons I like to do it, I can make it ahead, and all it is assembly. Now, years and years ago, let's say like in my grandmother's time, or maybe my parents, they would spend like half a Sunday afternoon just spinning their, as they called it, gravy around their Sunday sauce around all day long. And it's not a myth. People would like slowly cook this thing all day long. I'm not saying it wasn't delicious. Heck yes. But I'll be honest with you, in 2023, and at least for myself, at least the last 20 something years, I'm totally happy breaking open a good quality jarred sauce. Maybe I could doctor it up to make it more like my own. How many of you out there do that to save time? Because the factory of which I'm paying for the jarred sauce took their time and did their long and slow and steady wins the race sauce. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the old fashioned way. It does bring me back to childhood and my parents painstakingly. I remember my dad smashing down tomatoes in a colander. And my dad and mom, and they worked together, and chopping, slicing, dicing. They were perfectly happy doing that. I remember hearing stories about my grandmother being one of the first people up on a Sunday morning, frying meatballs and making her gravy before she went to Sunday mass. That's what rumor has it, and the whole neighborhood would smell it downtown in the West Village back in the day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's nice. Those are cute little legendary stories. All right. But let's get back to dialing back the price. Now, for myself, I make the star of my show, believe it or not, is not the meat. Because a lot of people, they're like, maybe they're just not interested in meat. But in my case, I like both, okay? Because I do eat some meat. I don't eat tons of it. But I like to make myself either one of the following, but it's usually baked ziti. It is the easiest thing to do. I could do it way ahead of time, and I pop that right in its own pan in the freezer and take it down like a day before Christmas. I'm telling you, it is the easiest thing. So I boil up my ziti. I assemble it because I already have the pre-made sauce that I doctored up. But what I do, of course, I use ricotta cheese. Of course, I use real mozzarella, not the fresh one. That's for eating with a salad. The fresh one doesn't melt very well, in my opinion, inside of a lasagna, or that's my opinion. So rather than that, I get those little blocks and like I'll shred those, like that kind of mozzarella type thing into my ziti or lasagna or whatever, or even on top of ravioli. And by the way, doing the ravioli trick is very easy. You boil it up, you bake it up, you put your mozzarella on top, and you are done. But my star of the show is my meatballs. My meatballs are delicious. They're kid friendly. They're everybody friendly. Um, and I also learned how to just swap out what I usually would do instead of the beef one only. I also have the turkey meatball option for those that, might prefer that. So I just like to really, really do a good, really good baked ziti. And I like to make my meatballs for the actual baked ziti or lasagna. I call them mini meatballs. And I put the mini meatballs in between the layers, and it's really, really good. And it is so much less expensive. So for less than 20 bucks, can I tell you something? I figured something out. An 8x8 pan serves 4 generous servings. So if you're counting heads and trying to figure it out, if you get 2 8x8s, you have 8 generous servings. Just saying, just saying. It's a nice thing to know. Again, this is a good make ahead. Now, let's talk about other ways to save. Now, when I was growing up, my parents would put together a very, I would call it rather expensive antipasta, which is like the before meal appetizer, which is beautifully done. And those cold cuts or deli cuts, whatever you want to call it, like included things like prosciutto, which is a very nice ham, very, it's kind of on the expensive side. capicola, all these good things, good Genoa salami, everything, provolone cheese, all the good stuff, okay? And other things, olives. I'm trying to remember everything. They just had a lot of stuff, roasted peppers. I mean, you name it, it was in this thing. So I said to myself, why don't instead of like an expensive antipasta, why don't I go for a chef salad with a micro amount of similar components, not necessarily all the components, because I don't know if you've taken a look lately at your at your deli prices lately, but some of them are through the roof. Some of them are really, really like through the roof. Okay, so you could like make like a lighter version of an antipasto and make a nice, delicious chef salad instead. Just thought I'd mention it. Don't forget also, a lot of people don't like meat, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because I do. I mean, I'm not in love with it, but I do like to have that. It fills me up protein wise, and sometimes I crave it. But for those that are missing out, you have to include vegan, you have to include vegetarian in whatever you're doing. In whatever you're doing too. Now, some people can and will and have no problem eating eggs. So for them to put out a little appetizer, something as simple as deviled eggs, that's a good thing. And of course, for those who just, want straight, like what I would like to do and do also, is put to the side, I will include a garden salad, and maybe some options that they can throw in on their own, whatever they like. You can make, like a separate platter with all the stuff, like some people like the broccoli, some people like the cauliflower, whatever it is. I forget the name of that tray. It's that tray you get or you make yourself where all those vegetables you just add in. So I just thought I'd mention that. Don't forget another way less expensive than spending hundreds of dollars on roast is you could always go for another beautiful roast turkey, and hopefully still you're able to get that at a decent price. But many people are not fans of turkey. Many people say roast turkey is dry, and if that's you, then and you do enjoy poultry in general, then pick up a nice roast chicken. I'll tell you, some of those roast chickens, like I had on, the first Thanksgiving, because as you know, I had two Thanksgivings, that roast chicken was amazing. And it was at a very, very reasonable price. So, don't forget that option. There are ways that you could cut corners. Um, Another thing where people may be spending a lot of money on are hard beverages. I don't care for that personally myself. I rather instead have fun with, you know, those like sweet, those little drinks like once a year, like those Martinelli type in the fancy bottle. I mean, it looks festive, it's cute. It's basically apple cider and seltzer. So if you can't find that, you can make your own non-alcoholic punches, and people might say, "Well, that's not a fun party." But put it this way, I like knowing that any of my guests going to go home and drive home safely. That's me. That's the way I roll. I'm just saying. There are ways and there are ways. And of course, you have to determine, first of all, what is your budget? What is your budget that you plan to work within? Don't like go there like without thinking and like I don't care what the number is because January still comes. I'm talking about people who are like really, in the zone of definitely needing to watch their expenses. Now, if you are in a situation where you're not living paycheck to paycheck, where you're not, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you get, if you're in that comfortable position, great, but not everybody. For the ones that really need to watch it, this could be a vulnerable time. Because, like I always say, we get caught up with our emotions at the holiday season, and you could do very, very nice decorating, make your table look special. Put out a couple of ornaments, nice a bright tablecloth. You could use one of those candles that run on a battery. I think of safety all the time too, especially, with this season. You just have to just put it all into consideration. Take the planning and mainly have fun. Don't forget other food options. Now, if you really want to reduce some of the cost, consider a stir fry. You could do two types of stir fry. One completely no, no meat, like vegetarian stir fry. You could just do that for those that do not eat meat. Then you could do a meat stir fry, and your meat is not the star of the show, but the vegetables are. Now, when it comes down to dessert, I know this video is taking a little bit longer, but that's okay. It's worth it, and I'm glad you're sticking around to listen. When it comes to dessert, well, now let's talk about cheesecake briefly for a minute. The prices of cheesecake could run anywhere from the sublime to the ridiculous. Okay. Now, last year I got a really, really good deal, and I have a tendency to order cakes. Even the cheesecake was like all various different slices in one. So it was a really great option, and I got it at a very good price. I'm not going to spend $50 on cheesecake. Don't get me wrong, I'm just not going to do it. So the one I got was only $12. And it was delish. And I've been sampling cheesecake my whole life here in New York. And I tell you, it's quite comparable to the ones that have the huge name. That's just my opinion. So you could go that route, or you could make your own. And then there's also one that I've always loved since I was a kid. And I know it's sort of like, it's like not like the most serious cheesecake. It's like more like a mousse cheesecake, but it's delicious. And I like to use crushed pineapple with it. It's the one in the box that you can assemble with a kit. You could buy it, you keep it in your pantry. Anytime your family's in the mood of a instant no bake type cheesecake, there it is. You could just do it on your own. There's so many options. And then there's the one that the method that you could follow on the back of the cream cheese, the good cream cheese that everybody, national one. I think I'll look up that recipe and maybe create a video of that recipe. It'll come in handy. So there are options. Just scale it down. This is the main point of this video. Have your fun, enjoy great food, but scale it down and tailor it to your family's needs. And if you're still here with me at 17 minutes and 26 seconds, I commend you and I thank you. But I'm really trying to be very helpful with this. Can you do me a favor and the rest of us a favor? Let us know in the comment section below, what is your version of a reasonably priced Christmas dinner? The other thing is, don't go out to eat for Christmas at a restaurant. Prices are at their premium, okay? I mean, unless you have no choice for whatever the reason, I wouldn't know that reason. But certainly, I mean, I'm talking about like restaurants and stuff like that. Make it at home and you get leftovers. I want to mention something. A lot of people go out to eat, for example, or went out to eat recently for Thanksgiving, right? What story do I always hear when they go out to eat? Gee, if there's anything I miss is having the leftovers. Because when you eat at home, you have the leftovers. You're totally correct on that one. When you go out to eat your dinner, you're not going to come home to leftovers. I don't know about you, but I love leftovers and I turn them into do-over meals. And I always say there's two Thanksgivings anyway, even if you have one, for example, on the national holiday. The one where all your guests are with you in the afternoon, and the other one after everybody packed up and went home. And about 10 o'clock at night, when you want to sit down to a holiday movie, and you go make yourself that turkey sandwich about 10 o'clock. When you go to the restaurant, you're not getting that. When you go home, that's it. Huh? Yeah. And you spent a lot of money. I'm just saying, this is my thought on the matter. Some may agree, some may not agree, but that's okay. That's real life. All right, everybody. I want to thank you very much for being here. I really do appreciate everybody's time. I hope that some of my tips and tricks help. Think of good swap out meals for expensive meals on Thanksgiving, Christmas. We're already well past Thanksgiving. But you can mention anything that worked for you this recent Thanksgiving. Yeah, why not? It's still relevant. There you go. All right, everybody. Take good care. Have an amazing, fantastic day. Thank you for being here.